begin asymptomatic testing.
Several student organizations at FGCU
and we're going to play Guess the Song.
Hello, welcome to Hanging with the Executives here at the Bauer School of Music.
And you're watching ENTV.
Hey everyone, welcome back to week 10 of Hard Hitters. I'm your host this week, Nick Aslin, joined with
Carson Zorn,
Kevin Rollins,
and James Rossi.
So we had some really interesting games this past week. Crazy upsets, big scoring games, and the big scoring game that we're going to cover this week is the Dolphins and Bears. Let's bring on our cameraman, Packy, our Bears fan, to get his thoughts about the game.
Man, I'm really upset. I mean, the Bears lost. It is what it is, because, that's typical Bears fashion. But Justin Fields, he broke the single-game record for rushing for quarterbacks, man. He beat Michael Vick's record. I think that speaks to measures for his development. A lot of people thought that, he wasn't him, but I think this week he really did prove that, indeed, he is him. So...
definitely did a great performance. Dolphins defense needs to do some work, but Bears defense couldn't stop Tua. The Legion of Zoom got to work this week. Now, that defense, like I said before, has to clutch enough for tight situation down the road. This shows that the Dolphins, they can get into a shootout, they can win games. GG to your Bears, they showed up a lot of fight. I think you have a great future ahead, but this is Miami's time. They're going to keep this momentum going.
All right, well, thank you, Packy, for your Bears insights. But moving on to Week 10, first game of the week, Thursday night, is Falcons versus the Panthers. Who do we got here? I think this is a pretty interesting matchup.
It's really tough. I know the Falcons took this one in a very close one a couple weeks ago, but what I also look at is that the Panthers should have won that one a couple weeks ago. They had two chances to and didn't capitalize on either. I think they make things right this week and they beat the Falcons.
I just don't know what's going on with the Panthers. I don't think they know what's going on. Obviously, the Falcons barely lost to the Chargers. I think it was they lost by 3. I think they're just a better team. So I'm going with the Falcons.
But moving on, first game for Sunday in Germany is the Seahawks versus the Bucs. What are we thinking, first game in Germany?
Tom Brady's going to have a lot of support in Germany. I think for many people in Germany, they're going to be wearing Bucs red, as they'll be able to see Tom Brady for the first and probably the only time. I think the Buccaneers do keep this momentum going this weekend. They win this game.
But Geno Smith has kind of been playing at an MVP level very quietly. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but very quietly been playing at an MVP level. I think he's got 13 or 14 touchdowns, just 3 picks. He is playing out of his mind. He keeps, getting written off, but he doesn't write back. So,
moving on, we have the Vikings versus the Bills. I think this is going to be a pretty interesting matchup. It pains me as a Packers fan, but I think I'm going to go with the Vikings for this one. What do you guys think?
If there's one team you don't want to play against, it's the Bills after a loss. They very rarely lose back-to-back games. For the Vikings, they are riding high at only 1 loss, but a lot of those wins came against subpar competition. I think the Bills are going to go out there and it could get ugly for the Vikings.
The difference is the Vikings have been winning a lot of these games, and a lot of them have been close games. The Vikings know how to win close games. The Bills do not. They lose these close games. So that could give the Vikings an edge, but I can never bet against Josh Allen, so I'm not going to, and I'm picking the Buffalo Bills.
Our next matchup is an NFC North matchup between the Lions and the Bears. What do we think here?
And I'm going to side with Packy, and I'm going to go with the Bears on this one. I honestly saw more positives from a Bears loss than I did from the Lions win.
The Bears are just looking like a stronger team, especially coming after last week. I honestly can see it being a high-scoring game, but I can see the Bears easily walking away with it.
Moving on, we have the Broncos versus the Titans. I think this is a pretty interesting matchup. We still don't know if Ryan Tannehill is going to be back, and Malik Willis certainly does not look like a starting quarterback fit for the NFL right now. So what's your thoughts?
It really doesn't matter who starts for that team, but the Tennessee Derrick Henrys, they come back home. A bit of a tough game last week, and yes, I'm calling them the Tennessee Derrick Henrys because that's what they are. I still can't trust Denver, so we had some time to not talk about Denver for a little bit, but I think Broncos country is going to have another let's hide week.
I think Russ warming up in the airplane is not going to help him. So.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with the Titans as well here. I don't think it's going to be a good week for the Broncos. Another team, sorry James, that I don't think it's going to be a good week for is the Jags against the Kansas City Chiefs. I got the Chiefs to win this one, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
As a boy from Jacksonville, I really want to pick the Jags. I feel like it'd be gutsy for me too, but I have to stick loyal. The Jags did have an unbelievable comeback. I think obviously the Raiders aren't the strongest team, but that was like the third biggest comeback of Jacksonville history. They were down 20-0 at half, and I was really disappointed, and they ended up winning 27-20. So, they have potential, and Jags play well against good teams. I feel like everyone forgets that. Jags play terrible against bad teams. So I would not be surprised if this is a close game. And I'm going to go with the Jags.
All right, our next matchup is the Browns versus Kevin's Dolphins. You guys continue your run?
I think we do. Defense does need to tighten up a bit, especially with Nick Chubb coming down. Nick Chubb, I love Nick Chubb, Georgia Bulldog alumni, but he's a big runner. But I think Miami, the offense is playing very well. Browns defense can be big tough sometimes, but you can't stop Tua. You can't stop Tyreek or Waddle. One of those guys is going to be open, and Miami, Fins for the win. Keep it 4 in a row.
But moving on, we have the Texans versus the Giants. I hated buying into the Giants at the beginning of the year, but I guess I'm fully invested now, and I'm pretty confident they'll beat the Texans.
I just don't trust Daniel Jones. But I'm still going to take them over the Texans because the Texans are just the worst team in the NFL.
Our next matchup, we have the New Orleans Saints against the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do we got?
Yeah, I made the classic Bengals fan mistake and put a lot of faith in Andy Dalton last week to beat the Ravens. I forgot that Andy Dalton is, in fact, not good. That's my bad. I'll take responsibility for that. But I'm going to do it again because why not? Bengals fans love just trying it again and again. So I'm going to take the Saints to beat the Steelers. I don't think Kenny Pickett is getting the proper development he needs in Pittsburgh. They just traded away another one of his receiving options, even though losing Claypool isn't that huge of a loss. But maybe that opens up more targets for George Pickens, NFL young boy.
But moving on, we have the Colts led by new head coach, or interim head coach, Jeff Saturday, against the Raiders. I think if the Raiders can get out to is 50 points okay? Maybe a 50-point lead, they might win. But anything less than that, I think the Colts still have a good chance to come back. Granted, I am still going to pick the Raiders, though.
Now, don't get me wrong, the Raiders have thrown many of games in the second half. For example, last week with the Jags. But I think they have that potential to be a great team, especially if the coaching improves. I mean, Devontae Adams is an unbelievable player. I think everyone knows that. And even with a middle quarterback as Derek Carr, he's still playing unbelievable. I think they scored enough points in the first half where they don't have to worry about it.
Moving on to our next matchup, we have the Dallas Cowboys coming into Lambeau Field to play my Green Bay Packers. I don't even know what to say at this point. We're 3-6, and football is a team sport, and you can't really ever put the loss on one player, but I think last week we can confidently say that Aaron Rodgers was the reason why we lost. That was probably one of his worst performances of his career, and I just don't see how we win many more games from this point on. I think it just continues to get worse from here, honestly, and I'm going to take the Cowboys.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Aaron Rodgers is done with football. I'll be honest, Cowboys win.
Got it. We have an NFC West matchup between the Cardinals and the Rams. I just want to put this stat out here. So, all of us combined have more reception yards in the last 4 games than Robbie Anderson. Because Robbie Anderson has -4 yards receiving. So we are better wide receivers than Robbie Anderson. And for that reason, I'm taking the Rams.
By the way, thank you for that, Sad Nick. What are we doing? We could be, instead of filming a show, we could be a backup receiver on some NFL team, or try to be a head coach and just get fired so we can instantly make the money.
Our next matchup, we have the Chargers versus the 49ers. I'm actually pretty excited about this game for Sunday night. I think this is going to put on a really great matchup. So who do you guys got to win it?
And Niners will keep this momentum going. Niners are going to challenge the Seahawks for the NFC West.
Yeah, I'm picking the Niners. Christian McCaffrey, the first week he played with them, was I think he joined the team on Tuesday, had an okay week, then played like an absolute demon, took a bye week. He's going to come back even stronger. They're a good team. They were a good team before adding him. You add him to their roster, they're a really good contender for the NFL right now. Like, I could see them going far in playoff season. I think they easily take this game.
Our final matchup of the week, we have the Commanders versus the Eagles. The Eagles passed the trap game last week against the Texans. I don't believe this is going to be another trap game for them, while the Commanders have been playing better with Taylor Heineke as their quarterback. So I'm going to roll with the Eagles here. I think they stay undefeated.
The Eagles. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and be sure to tune in next week to see how we did on our predictions.